Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Bidenflation, what people, well, it's not people don't understand it as much as politicians don't understand it. They don't understand then why people don't understand it. I guess they're somewhat insulated from the vagaries of having to pay for food and fuel, as our friend Scott the Cow Guy Shellady likes to say, food and fuel. And food and fuel is where American families have been taken in the pants over the last 3 years. Wages not keeping up with price increases, and people who are not insulated from economic reality feel those things because they got less money to spend to get by on a daily basis. Yeah. And so, like your goldfish threshold case of how much is a bag of goldfish.
It's a box of goldfish, Dan, and it started out at $4.86 when Trump was in office, and it's now $11.98. And that is sickening. But it's not only hitting; it's hitting every part of America. Here's a reporter from Billings, Montana. This is good stuff.
Visit just about any restaurant or store, and you'll hear people talking about inflation. And the Evergreen Cafe inside this Billings Ace hardware store is no exception.
Our food costs have increased by about 175%. Everything from dairy, especially meat and poultry, has been a huge factor. Grocery items such as fruits and vegetables.
Andrew Lochner and his wife have owned this cafe for the past 2 years and have seen the costs go up significantly. That's one reason the business played host to a roundtable discussion on the topic held by Senator Steve Daines.
I think some of these massive spending and tax bills contribute to what's going on with the inflation.
According to the senator's office, the consumer price index rose 3.5% in March, and inflation has been on the rise significantly ever since COVID. According to the Joint Economic Committee, the average Montana household has spent $26,000 more due to inflation since January of 2021. Breaking down the numbers even further, that equates to $253 more a month on housing, $141 more per month on energy costs, and $142 a month more on food.
Yeah, food and fuel. We need to get those I did that stickers that used to populate gas pumps around America and start having restaurants put them on their menus next to the pricing. Grocery stores put them on their products. For more on this, please be joined by Robert Pozen. He's a senior lecturer at the MIT Sloan School of Management, former chairman of MFS Investment Management as well. Robert Pozen, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you, Ed.
So we've talked about this quite a bit. I don't think you need to explain it to ordinary Americans as much as, yes, inflation has come down. So what you're seeing is prices increasing at a slower rate, but they're still increasing. Biden doesn't seem to understand that, and his miscommunication leads to a misunderstanding of what the American people understand.
Yeah, I think the problem is that the economists are focused on a very narrow set of numbers. They're looking at what's happened over the last year, and inflation over the last year has subsided, but it's still 3.5% for the year. But as you say, the normal consumer doesn't just say, okay, what happened during the last year? They're looking at price level over the last few years. And if we look at price levels over the last 3 years, ending January 2024, prices on all items were up around 18%. Now, of course, we see that some economists want to take out food and fuel, and I agree with you. It's crazy to take out food and fuel because people have to pay for it. But even if you took out food and fuel, prices over 3 years would still be up over 16%. And that's what I think people look at. They don't look at what just happened narrowly in the last year. They look at what happened over the last several years, and then they compare it to what happened to their pay. Well, the average pay over the last 3 years went up around 15.3%. And that's not take-home pay. That's before tax. And, of course, there's withholding for Medicare and Social Security at 14.3%. So that 15.3% wage increase isn't really what it seems. Because, again, people look at what they actually got in their take-home pay, and they compare it to what they had to pay for these goods and services several years ago. So I think the economists have it all wrong. They're looking at this very narrowly and not understanding the very common sense view that most consumers have.
Right, they're practical. Like food and fuel. It's not just I got to pay for it. It's I got to pay for it to live. Some other things I can do without, but I can't do without food and fuel.
Yeah. The other thing is it's the price level, not the rate of increase. The rate of increase over the last year has been, say, 3.1 to 3.5%. But that's not what people look at. They think, look, I bought a tuna fish sandwich in the beginning of 2021, and I paid takeout $10 for the sandwich. Now that sandwich cost me like $12.80. And so it's a lot more. The 3% is like irrelevant. And then, of course, when you go to get a takeout these days, people want a tip, even for a takeout. So, of course, you got to increase that. So your tuna sandwich that used to be $10 $10 a sandwich is now $13. And that's a big increase. And it's irrelevant that prices only went up by 3%. The question is, what's the price level from several years ago as compared to today? That's what consumers look at, and that's what economists are missing.
Well, I got to tell you, I got an oil change yesterday, and last time I got my oil changed, it was $62, $77. And I said, well, "What? It's the same product." He goes, "Everything is going up. Everything is more expensive. We have not increased our labor costs to do it, but I mean they keep chipping away and chipping away. So how do we make America affordable again?"
Well, I think that's a difficult question, but we first need to change expectations here, because we've gotten ourselves into an inflationary spiral, and the Fed was very late in fighting it. So I think the Fed's going to have to keep interest rates up for a little while longer and really start to bring down people's expectations. People for a long time thought interest rates would be at zero. Now that's changed. And so we've got to change the whole dynamic here. And we've got to accept a little slower growth and maybe a little higher unemployment to get inflation expectations back to normal. We're way off the chart because the Fed was very late in combating inflation, and now we're fighting a rearguard action.
Well, the other thing, too, is all these wondrous investments that the administration is touting to transform our economy. They're not paying dividends for American people. They're not even paying dividends to the rent seekers that they're underwriting. Wall Street Journal had it yesterday. Despite billions of dollars in subsidies over the last few decades, more energy products still failing to launch. On Friday, 3 New York offshore wind projects hit the rocks owing to rising costs and technical snafus. The New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, one of these industrial policy outposts, called off contract negotiations with 3 wind developers after turbine manufacturer GE Vernova said it couldn't deliver 18-megawatt turbines for the project. So this powering our $23 trillion economy on wind and solar panels isn't that transformation isn't happening quite as seamlessly as advertised.
Well, I think that while those facts are true, this is all the money that goes into energy infrastructure now is just starting, and the money going into chips. So a lot of that money is being spent in the United States. Exactly what's going to come about that, I don't think we know yet. So it's unclear, I think, whether those expenditures are going to be productive or not. I just think the jury's still out on that.
So with respect to fiscal and monetary policy, you mentioned Jay Powell and the Fed. You heard Senator Daines on that clip mention the profligate fiscal policies of the executive and congressional branches, legislative branches of government. Milton Friedman, of course, famously said inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. Is that still operative, or is it at this level of profligacy on both the fiscal and monetary sides? Is it a combination of the two?
Well, right now we have tight monetary policy, so we don't have
that came after profligate.
That came after a long time, and in Congress, both sides are willing to spend a huge amount of money on a wide variety of things. So we've got to combine what we have now, which is stricter monetary policy, with some fiscal constraints, and that takes both parties' willingness to cut back on spending. And so far, we haven't seen that, and it's in the context of Social Security and Medicare going way up, and now interest on the national debt's going up. And then, of course, we have these increasing obligations in foreign countries to help fight the war in Ukraine, fight off Russia. So we're facing many fiscal obligations that we can't get rid of. So we need to be much more careful about adding on any new obligations. But that would require discipline on part of both Democrats and Republicans, and so far we haven't seen that very well.
No, we haven't. Robert Pozen is a senior lecturer at the MIT Sloan School of Management, former chairman of MFS Investment Management as well. Robert Pozen, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
It's Dr. David Kolbaba.
Hey guys, it's not enough to manipulate your testosterone by getting those shots. Did you ever stop to ask, why is my testosterone level so low anyway? Well, if you're a Y guy like me, I've got something for you to think about. Hormone levels get skewed not with age. Hormones get skewed by poor lifestyle habits. Our male hormone test can help us find the why behind your male hormone challenges. So give us a call and get your male hormone test today. Pumping hormones into your bloodstream is not the answer, not without the many health risks associated. Stop tampering with your hormones, because if you don't, you'll probably live long enough to regret it. So from one Y guy to another Y guy, let's get it done the right way, the only way, taking more natural steps towards healthy hormone balance and performance today. It's our male hormone test. No blood, just spit. Call 800-794-1855. That's 800-794-1855. It's HealthQuest Radio with me, Dr. David Kolbaba, this Saturday morning at 11.
All right, I just did it. Took my Balance of Nature, cracked 3 fruits, 3 vegetable capsules into warm water, stirred it, and voila. Real food, real science, real nutrition. I get the increased energy that I need for a busy schedule that we have here at AM 560. And I have the ability to keep doing the things I love, even as I age. And I'm getting